Okay, Commissioner.
Okay, I will call this meeting to order. Denise, please establish quorum.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority Commission meeting. Today is Friday, January 23rd, 2026. This meeting is being recorded. Commissioner Sheik,
Here.
Commissioner Graves,
Here.
Commissioner Bass, Commissioner Gruhl,
Here.
Commissioner McMorrin, Commissioner Perkins,
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Here.
Commissioner Saunders, Commissioner Slausa.
Here.
Commissioner Stringer.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, let's go straight into, we're actually going to, just for everyone's knowledge, we're going to cover items 1 through 5 and then skip down to 8. And then I will take us into closed session and then we will reconvene starting with item 6. Thought I'd keep everyone on the same page. All right, Gita.
Great. Good morning, commissioners. Nice to see all of you. I'm going to do our land acknowledgement really quickly. The Los Angeles Continuum of Care and LAHSA acknowledge our presence and work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielina Tongva Kitch people, the Fernando, I was going to practice these words more, Tataviam peoples, and the Chumash peoples. LAHSA acknowledges the native peoples of this land as caretakers of our region. We acknowledge that homeless did not exist before colonization of this land, genocide, governmental policies of erasure, and land and wealth dispossession. We express our deep gratitude for the ancestors, elders, protectors, past, present, and emerging, who steward this land. So first I'm going to talk about our homeless count. Last night was the final night of homeless count. Later, Paul will give an update with specifics on the count, but this year's count went really smoothly. We experienced no major systematic technical problems, and we improved on our overall census tract completion compared to last year. I want to say thank you to all of the LAHSA staff for their incredible work leading up to this year's count and for the work they'll be doing in the coming months with our partners as we prepare to present the results publicly. I want to give a special shout out to some specific LAHSA staff members whose efforts were foundational to the count success. From Government Affairs, Derek Blankshear is here. Did an amazing job at 4,600 volunteers. I mean, unprecedented, amazing. Alicia Rose Duarte. Eric Vargas. Okay, sorry. Matthew Mitnick. Jesus Diaz, Heather Varden, Clementina Clementina, Jorge Tapia, okay, and Paul Rubenstein. And from our data team, Brian Brown, Stephanie Wallham, Will Shaw, Evan Kuhn. Here, yes. I have to say, watching Bevan and Paul every single night, you guys went to the data, home base here till the wee hours of the morning. No matter if they counted, I mean, they were really great. So we are really appreciative.
I just have to say it's amazing to hear. Before we go on, I just want to have on the record that Commissioner McMorrin and Commissioner Bass are now with us.
Great, welcome. We appreciate their dedication. And we also had staff from our data partner, Esri, on site and in the field all 3 nights, and their support was critical to our success. Finally, I want to thank the commission and our partners at the city and the county who participated in the count and helped us with volunteers. All the LAHSA staff and the thousands of people across the region who volunteered. It was a huge effort and we really appreciate everyone's role in it. And I'll give you an update on the COC. The latest ruling in the case against HUD is preventing HUD from implementing the 2025 NOFO until a final ruling is made in the case, which will most likely come in February. As part of the ongoing legal process, HUD complied with the court order and initiated the renewal process for the original 2-year NOFO from 2024. The deadline to submit renewal applications is February 9th, and we're all prepared to do that on time. LAWSA is waiting for HUD to release detailed instructions for renewals, but our preliminary assessment is that currently funded projects that were awarded 2024 funding will have their applications from 2024 rolled over for renewal, which is great news. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the city TLS RFP. This past week, the city's Housing and Homeless Committee passed a motion to approve an increase in the rate for TLS services, as well as for LAHD to contract directly with LAWSA's fiscal agent Home for the administration of the rental assistance. The committee also directed CAO to identify funding for an increase in assistive services for more expansive employment and housing stabilization services, and to ensure there is a centralized mechanism for unit location services to help in the ramp up of TLS slots. The full city council will vote on this today. We are already making some minor edits in LAWSA's TLS RFP, and we do not expect these amendments to slow the procurement process at all. And lastly, we're going to look at the system outlook. As we approach the new fiscal year, we are committed to working with LAWSA's funders and service providers to ensure that our system is in the best position to maintain vital services. We are continuously monitoring all ramp down efforts and planning for all funding scenarios. As the county removes its funding and the city faces a significant fiscal deficit, we know that LAWSA will look differently next year, for sure. In February, we will share our future vision for LAWSA and a potential new organizational structure with the commission and the public. With this body of work, we're going to make our best case to the city as they go through their budget process. I want to emphasize that we are committed to doing everything we can to give the city what it needs to make informed decisions about LAWSA and the future of our system. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to take questions.
Please, just on the TLS, because we had this in programs committee and maybe it'll be talked about later. It was the difference between of adding the services or not, right? Was what they were considering in the financials. So did they give a number that they're considering today in council?
Let me check with,
Hold
hold on, Nathaniel's going to come.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nathaniel Vergao, Deputy Chief Program Officer. So on Wednesday at the Housing and Homelessness Committee, the LAHD had put together recommendations for two different scenarios for the council to consider. And the CAO initially recommended the less expensive option based on currently available funding that they were able to identify. In the Housing and Homelessness Committee, there was clear directive to the CAO to go back and seek additional funding for increased services as outlined by Guido O'Neill that include additional services to assist with employment as well as procurement of future housing options for those who are not on a path to independence, as well as securing a mechanism for securing a pot of available units, so unit location essentially. Again, to assist with the ramp up. It is an ambitious goal to get to 2,000 placements by June 2027, but based on system data of placements within TLS, it is attainable.
And so the RFP went out on Wednesday.
So
with an asterisk that said may change, right?
Correct. And so we're in the process of making those amendments. We have a voluntary proposers conference on Monday, and we'll go through what those amendments are. And we're working with the city. If they're able to add additional funds, we will, if it's during this process, we will amend that and work with the proposers to do so. If it's afterwards, we'll determine what the best process is to add in that additional funding.
Thank you for that clarification.
I'm sorry, Nathaniel. I listened to H&H the other day, and I thought a lot of the presentation talked about these increased services and the commitment to connecting to employment, benefits, enrollment. But you're saying that that's not funded in the existing RFP? That work?
So the RFP as we wrote it did include the larger suite of services. We are paring it back based on what the existing funding is that will be going through at the proposers conference on Monday. There is Councilmember Rahman and the H&H committee directed CAO to find additional funding to be able to pay for the additional services. It does represent what they did recommend on Wednesday, does recommend represents an increase in funding for services. The goal with that is to be able to ensure that providers can increase the wages commensurate with wage increases that we've approved through the shelter increase in RFP last year, so that we can assist with retention and hiring for staff as well as training.
And what's the client ratio?
1 to 20.
We just have one. We have two online speakers waiting. Please.
Scott Mayers, you're welcome to speak.
Good morning. How long do I have?
You have 1 minute.
Good morning, members of the commission. So the official homeless count was completed last night. In a few months, there will be an official number stated for the county and the city. It will be presented as a vague percentage decrease, not a real number decrease. The real number in 2025 in the city of Los Angeles was a tiny 1,008 reduction. 2025, it was a tiny 1,553 reduction. Found on faraway websites, URLs, and PDFs is the other number, that of homeless deaths. None of you, especially Mayor Karen Bass, will ever acknowledge that most of the reduction, of any reduction, is due to embedded deaths of the homeless. You're counting deaths as a reduction. You are not making any progress, and you are bankrupting us. And the most extreme example is in the Palisades fire, and in the words of Kristen Crowley, they've asked us to do more with less. And we know why. You've shifted money from roads, police, and fire to an utterly failed homeless scheme. And if you don't think the feds are watching,
Is there one more speaker?
There's 2 more speakers. Sorry.
Okay.
Langarica, you're welcome to speak.
Hello, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Myra Langarica, and I am, my proposal is I'm trying to get support. That I'm trying to,
Can you please speak up? We are not able to hear you.
oh, can you hear me now?
No, we are not able to hear you. I mean, other than a little bit.
Hold on, okay, wait 1 second.
We can't turn it up on our end.
Yeah, we are not able to. Can
you hear
you
me now?
speak closer to your microphone? We can start over your time. Don't worry about that. But can you speak closer to your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone.
No
My name
problem.
is Myra.
Please start again.
My name is my name is Myra, and I'm dealing with the animals for the prevention of cruelty to animals and for the homeless. I have this new idea, which is to get the homeless and train them to train dogs, so that like that we can be able to take the animals out of the rescue, the shelters, because they're abusing the animals in there. And the funding out here for the homeless, they're not really housing the homeless. So my idea is to get like a couple like a homeless and a pet and place them in a property, and they'll be like protecting the property because I got accused of being homeless last year, and they took my dogs, and they I don't know if they killed them or not, but it's a sad story because all because I was homeless, they claimed, but I wasn't. I was working on getting my house, and so I want to make things better because for the animals, they cannot speak up for themselves, and I am a provider in LAHSA, and my application hasn't got approved or anything like that, and it's difficult because the police makes it difficult for us. They take away our property, our tents, and then they humiliate us. And I really want to progress and help my community get better. If you guys can please help us. I really appreciate you guys are doing hard work. And, I just want to make it a safe for everyone's family, because it's all about it should be about family. You know, thank you, you guys.
Commissioner, now we have 3 more speakers. Caller ending in 3713, you're welcome to speak.
Hi, this is Ruthless. I am currently undergoing a sweep. I thought that my council district wasn't going to do that during the homeless count, and I guess it wasn't technically during my neighborhood's homeless count, but I feel like they should not be doing sweeps for a month leading up to the count was, I think, the federal guidance. That would mean around Christmas or Homeless Persons Memorial Day, the winter solstice, they would stop so that the numbers aren't suppressed. In 2005 and 2007, Applied Survey Research did the count, and they used homeless counters that they paid hourly wages to count. And they counted 22 to 23 homeless people each, including themselves. Now they do volunteers that count like 1.5 homeless person each. And it seems like the count is really based on the number of people counted.
Chichi Navarro, you're welcome to speak.
Hi there, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Amazing, thank you so much. Buenos dias, everyone. My name is Chichi Navarro, any pronoun. I am a policy intern with the Translatina Coalition, which is the nation's largest TGI, meaning transgender, gender expansive, and intersex organization in the country. I just wanted to bring up a couple of data points so that we remind ourselves of the dire need of the TGI community. Recent surveys have shown that 25%, a quarter of TGI adults that reside within Los Angeles have experienced homelessness, with another quarter who have experienced it in the past. As it relates to transgender youth, they're more likely than their non-trans counterparts to experience homelessness and in housing insecurity as well. And I need y'all to understand that this is a crisis for TGI folks. We continue to sweep this under the rug, and several.
And we have one more. Yvette, you're welcome to speak.
Good morning, Commission. Looking at the homeless issue, we need more inventory of housing, however we choose to develop that to house the homeless. The issue is not going to be resolved until we work with our construction workers and create trainings as well as housing. I don't understand why we're not using our unincorporated area. Money should be donated or allocated for us to create housing to give people permanent homes and not just a fix. I've tried and made many attempts to put in a request for funding for projects in which we are trying to create in the Antelope Valley unincorporated area to create that housing, as well as us partnering with some of our homeless.
Thank you. One thing before I go on to the next item is I realized I did not acknowledge Commissioner Stringer. I think this is your first official meeting? It is. Thank you. So thank you for being here and volunteering to serve. So we look forward to working with you. Great. More to come. At this point, just given some timing issues, I'm actually going to move us straight to item 8. We have Cherie Todoroff here for a report on the County Department of Homeless Services and Housing, and then we will go into closed session.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Shri Tataroff. I'm the Interim Chief Operating Officer for the Department of Homeless Services and Housing. The new Department of Homeless Services and Housing launched January 1. Our goal was to have that be as seamless as possible for clients and for our providers. And I'm happy to report that it has gone pretty smoothly. We have not experienced any disruptions other than it took some of our partners a few days to become familiar with our new email addresses. But otherwise, it has gone very smoothly. This first phase of the transition was about bringing together the Department of Health Services Housing for Health program and the Chief Executive Office Homeless Initiative program. So we are now all together in the new Department of Homeless Services and Housing. We are now turning our full and complete attention to the next phase of the transition, which is working with various partners, LAHSA being the key one on the transition of county resources at LAHSA to the new department to be effective July 1. So we do have, we've been working on this for a while, but now this is sort of our primary and exclusive focus. We have a number of working groups looking at each service line to do that transition. That includes LAHSA and new department staff and work plans to work through the steps to again have that be as seamless as possible for providers and for clients. We do have many other stakeholders who are very important for this transition, who we are also regularly engaging with to get input and to help inform the process. That does include regular convenings with providers as well as with the City of Los Angeles and various staff with the city. Folks may be aware that our spending plan for fiscal year 26-27 goes before the Board of Supervisors February 3rd. That spending plan does include the recommendations for funding, and it does lay out the funding that would stay with the department and that would also continue with LAHSA. For awareness, we are continuing significant and increased direct investments in HMIS, in the homeless count, and various sort of data analytics functions. These are key to our region and will continue to be essential and of very high value for all of us. So those are areas in which we've been investing for a while, but some of that investment has been not as clear because of being covered with admin costs or indirect costs. And now we are clearly laying it out as a direct funding investment with LAHSA. Following the board consideration of the spending plan, another very high priority will be getting out allocation letters to service providers. We know that that is vital for them and they need that information as soon as possible. Our goal is to provide those allocation letters in March. So that would include all of the funding from the new department for the different service lines, and those budget amounts would go to providers in March. Another piece of information is that many folks are also aware that, of course, the county is funding many positions here at LAHSA, and we greatly value all of the staff who have been involved in this work and want to continue to have them all involved in this space and want to continue to have all of the amazing experiences and skills be part of our homeless response system. So the county has and on behalf of our Department of Human Resources, who's leading this effort, has been working on a number of ways in which to prioritize LAHSA employees who will be impacted by this transition for employment opportunities with the county. We are crosswalking and have already done much of this work. Positions at LAHSA that will be impacted by the transition to county positions to get the best information we can on the types of positions that will provide the greatest employment opportunities for LAHSA employees. And we are starting in the coming couple of weeks with the outreach worker classification and with doing hiring fairs specifically for LAHSA outreach workers to create opportunities within the new department, but also in other county departments. We will follow that with other job classifications and other opportunities, but once again, looking at pathways for prioritizing impacted LAHSA employees into county employment. I think with that, I will see if you have any questions for me.
Mayor?
Thank you. I know this is a hard job. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about integrating other county departments, if they will be integrated, if so, which ones? Specifically, I mean, obviously there's health services, there's mental health, but also DPSS, DCFS, child support, all of those city departments that touch on or impact people who are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, thank you. All of these services are essential safety net services for supporting vulnerable populations, including people experiencing homelessness. So we have, and the department will continue to partner very closely with those departments and always looking for ways for service integration. So we, in our different settings with our outreach teams with interim housing and permanent housing, one of the primary efforts in all of those areas is to link individuals to any resource for which they are eligible. And that is always an active and ongoing process. We also are directly partnering with those departments in terms of administering funds that flow through those departments to directly serve people experiencing homelessness. And we are continuing, that is one of the phases of establishing the new department as well, is to look at the other county departments and to assess if any of those resources that are really focused on people experiencing homelessness administered by other county departments, if and when it would make sense to have those resources administered by the new county department. That would be something, recommendations that would go back to our board for consideration. But that is not slowing us down in the interim. We are actively working on all those partnerships and coordination now.
Sheree, to that point, which was exactly, I think, the goal of consolidating the homeless effort in the county. Can you explain a little bit more too about the county's, about HSH's goal to become a Medi-Cal biller and FSP provider yourselves so that you can administer the programs directly?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the new department is a Medi-Cal provider. And so we are able to bring those resources into the department and have, as a result of that, additional resources to support people experiencing homelessness. Right now, a primary area or example of that would be CalAIM and all of those community supports that are specifically targeting people experiencing homelessness. We see the opportunity to be able to increase resources through CalAIM by bringing more some of the funding back into the county, because it will be eligible for us to also enroll to those same services. We can enroll people in CalAIM and bring in those Medicaid dollars. We are also looking and working closely and have the support with our Department of Mental Health to become an FSP provider. So to fully integrate those mental health services into the homeless services.
Thank you very much, Sheree. And thank you for what you do. You said you're trying to prioritize hiring of LAHSA employees for county funded positions. So if you could, each time you come in, if you could just report out how many LAHSA employees have been hired, that would be great.
Okay, absolutely. We are setting up systems to track that. We know that already happens, sort of with people taking action independently on their own on a regular basis, that people who have had work experience at LAHSA do come into county departments. And now we're launching into a very specific focused effort, and especially through these hiring fairs will give us the opportunity to have really good information to share with you. I will share that we have our Department of Human Resources has launched the concierge services to help LAHSA employees, and so far 95 LAHSA employees are engaging with that concierge service.
Just one last thing. I do actually have tons of questions and would like to do a deep dive, but maybe you could come over to the mayor's office. I just don't believe in public spectacles, so we could have our conversation there.
We would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Good question, and I think it's important, which is that some of the costs that we may be bearing at LAHSA, if it goes there in the FSP, if you can be designated, I think as you mentioned, will be reimbursed by Medicaid, which had not happened before. So that's that part of it is an improvement in there. There were two things I had. One is on homeless and the HET teams and the other things. There's a lot of, obviously, the county has set up their new, I don't know the acronym.
ECRC,
Is it the ECRC? Is that what you're calling it? Okay.
the Emergency Response Center, is that, I think you're referring to for outreach coordination?
Yeah, so, because it's been challenging just generally when we had it, city, all these other things. And so I think a kind of a presentation on how that's going to work and how it will change would be really helpful on the outreach. Because if you are a elected official in a small city or you're elected official in Los Angeles, you're used to maybe calling LAHSA to do that. How will it work through that when there's a particular issue or problem? I mean, they obviously have Inside Safe, and I think that there's a little change on the Pathway Homes, which would be helpful because I think there's less funding in this upcoming year. So I think on the whole outreach part of that is really important to understand how it's going to change and how it will integrate, and timing on that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question, which maybe come back. I read something in a report, maybe it was in the Daily News or something, that said there was $45 million in efficiencies of LAHSA money, but I don't understand what that meant. Could you get back, just because I didn't understand that, if it was now because it's going over, maybe you know the answer to that, but if not, it was confusing to me.
Yeah, I do know the answer to that. On the outreach coordination, we are happy to come whenever the commission would like us to come speak about that. I would also like to extend to all the commissioners the opportunity to come do a tour of ECRC as well. Some already have, but that's always an option for anybody who would like to do that. On the efficiencies, that was part of the way in which we closed the $303 million deficit. And it was not specific to LAHSA. And in fact, a lot of it was actually outside of what is currently administered by LAHSA. A fair amount of it has to do with case manager to client ratios, and using all of the different tiers more effectively in those ratios. So that's where that was an example, one of the prime examples of the efficiencies.
I saw that, but it made it sound like it was LAHSA efficiencies. Okay, it's not.
For example, like the areas when we're talking about case management, we're talking about the current intensive case management services in permanent supportive housing and those ratios, which is a very large investment with these A dollars, and that so those ratio adjustments are contributing to that efficiency. It is also the TLS, which will become case management, which will be coming over to the county, and we would use the same tiering with TLS rental subsidies and clients as well.
Two quick questions. So where in the process of FSP contracting is the department right now in terms of working with DMH? Has the solicitation being proposal being submitted? Is that already like a definition of the age groups which you'll be applying to? I'm assuming you're going to apply for, child, teen, adult, but it's like where in that process, because that would at least help me understand like the time frame, which might lead to opportunities for LAHSA staff, right, or transition.
Yeah, so we are in initial stages. We are completing the steps associated with the department to have full Medi-Cal certification to be able to then go into that next robust step with the actual coordination and negotiation with DMH.
Do we have callers on the line?
We have 2 online speakers. Megan Hutchin, you're welcome to speak. Megan Hutchin, you're welcome to speak.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, Commissioners, and LAHSA staff. My name is Megan Hukin, founder of Angels in the Outfield, a community restoration company employing newly housed individuals
Megan,
from
I'm
LAHSA.
sorry. Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
Can you hear me better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Chairpersons, Commissioner, and LAHSA staff. My name is Megan Hukin, founder of Angels in the Outfield, a community restoration company employing newly housed individuals from LAHSA programs. Los Angeles is in crisis. Our streets are overwhelmed with waste. Our neighborhoods are struggling, and too many people are still living without a stable home. Every day, the people who are trying to rebuild their lives are also facing their fear of losing everything again. That's why Angels in the Outfield exist. We provide real jobs, real support, and real hope to people who have already survived the hardest part of homelessness. Now they just need a chance to stay housed and contribute. With funding, we can expand to serve 50 participants over the next 12 months, delivering 10,000 plus hours of work and removing an estimated 20,000 pounds of waste from our neighborhoods. Today, I'm asking for your support.
Suzette Shaw, you're welcome to speak.
Good day. My name is Suzette Shaw. I write, talk, and advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. I am a
Your audio went out.
I apologize. I've been speaking. My name is Suzette Shaw. I'm a Skid Row resident. I write, talk, and advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. I live in permanent supportive housing here in Skid Row. We are being forced into daily episodes of Orange is the New Black as you all bring people all directly off the streets and put them next door to us. I'm talking about drug addicts, drug dealers, people with severe mental health diagnosis, into units next to those of us who are attempting to heal and move our lives forward. It appears a cognitive dissonance of privilege by passive aggressive messages that you're sending to us trauma survivors that our safety and peace are damned to you all. Mayor, I would like to have a direct conversation with you as it relates to this. Hilda Solis, I would like to have a direct conversation as it relates to all of you. All of you, I would like to have a direct conversation. Your interest has never been related to the interests and needs of us who are trauma survivors, women living in Skid Row. Care for us. Send us millions of dollars. Support housing for us. We can no longer talk about equality and empowerment while continuing.
Caller ending in 6969, you're welcome to speak.
This is Celeste Berry. Can you hear me? This is Celeste. I'm 22. I'm trans and homeless. I'm in Studio City right now. We just had a sweep happen at our encampment. My friend Rosie spoke earlier. I would just like to point out that these sweeps help nobody, and they actually make our neighborhoods more dangerous by displacing people systematically. And housing is never offered at most of these sweeps except for Karen Bass's Inside Safe sweeps. But I've only seen like a few of those happen. Instead, what happens is usually some police or like park rangers come and take our stuff and, or displace us. And, they often take through and take what they want and, leave us with nothing. And it's like, do you expect the cities to get safer or like better, or do you expect like more desperation? And do you expect that desperation to then manufacture consent for you to demonize homeless people and to not provide them housing?
We have one more speaker. Liz Palomino, you're welcome to speak.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share that the current microphones that you are using are creating a lot of static, so it's hard to hear. The speakers are coming out thoroughly from online, but it has to do with your current microphones and at the actual location. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I will, as I bear through, put us in recess on our regular commission meeting so that we can start our special commission meeting, and then we will come back to this meeting. Is that correct, everyone? Thank you. Okay. Yes, that's why. Our closed session is in a special commission meeting that was posted after the other one. So at this time, do we have to reestablish quorum? Okay, thank you. Denise, will you start our special commission meeting?
Um, Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority Special Commission meeting. Today is Friday, January 23rd, 2026. Commissioner Sheik,
Here.
Commissioner Graves. Here. Commissioner Bass. Commissioner Gruel.
Here.
Commissioner McMorrin.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Saunders. Commissioner Stringer.
Here.
Commissioner Slausa.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I will move us item 1.0 closed session conference with legal counsel. Okay, significant exposure to litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9, 2 cases. At this time, please, everyone else leave the room.
Now we're on.
Okay, thank you. So we are reconvening after we've just ended closed session. We met regarding significant exposure to litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9. About 2 cases, we took no action, so there is nothing to report from closed session. Great. The only other item before we adjourn our special meeting and restart our regular meeting, we have a nomination approval of new committee assignments. And at this time, I move to nominate Commissioner Stringer to join the audit committee. Welcome back. Yeah, right. Motion. I've made the motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sheik.
Yes.
Commissioner Graves.
Aye.
Commissioner Bass. Commissioner Gruel.
Aye.
Commissioner McMorrin.
Aye.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Saunders. Commissioner Stringer. Commissioner Slausa.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Yay. At this point, I will adjourn the special committee, the special commission meeting, and we will re-enter our regular commission meeting, starting with, do I take a roll again? Got it? Okay. Denise, will you restart our regular commission meeting, please?
Commissioner Sheik.
Here.
Commissioner Graves.
Here.
Commissioner Bass. Commissioner Gruel.
Here.
Commissioner McMorrin.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins. Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Saunders. Commissioner Stringer.
Here.
Commissioner Slausa.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to point out on item number 9, the update from the City Chief Administrative Office. Matt Szabo was here timely, but had another conflict at noon, so he sends his regrets that he had to leave. He will hopefully be here at the next meeting.
Absolutely. And I have to say, he came, and I very much appreciate him coming while we were in closed session, and understand he had to leave. Okay, let's move to item 5, our consent calendar. That's not, we don't need to take.
I would. Oh.
Are we're taking all these items together? Okay, so
I would move approval of the consent items.
Okay.
5.0 through 5.7.
do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sheik.
Aye.
Commissioner Graves.
Aye.
Commissioner Gruel.
Aye.
Commissioner McMorrin.
Aye.
Commissioner Perkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Stringer.
Aye.
Commissioner Slauson.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move on to item 6.0, review, approval of the agenda. Thank you. Oh, yes. And I would also say, as we move into these presentations, to ensure that we have quorum throughout this meeting, can we shorten presentations as much as possible? And then if we need more information at a later time, we can bring these items back onto the agenda. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. We are here to present the 2026 state and federal legislative agenda. I want to note that David Dirks, our new government director for government affairs, who I think you met at the last meeting, was called away during closed session with a family emergency. So I have asked Associate Director Jorge Tapia to step in for the portion that David was going to cover. So he's going to be stepping in at the last minute, but I was planning to recognize Jorge anyway for all of his hard work on helping put this together. It's a big effort, lots of stakeholder engagement. And so I think in some ways it is fitting that Jorge ends up presenting a portion of it to you. I want to clarify that the legislative agenda establishes high-level policy priorities to guide losses advocacy throughout the year. It is designed to provide direction for engagement with federal and state partners as policy and funding discussions evolve. So it's not too prescriptive. And we design the priorities to reflect system-wide conditions identified through stakeholder input. Oh, sorry, we can go on the next slide. Sorry. Based on stakeholder input, departmental feedback, and leadership priorities. And thank you for those of you that responded. Part of that outreach this year included reaching out to commissioners individually as we were putting it together. And so we appreciate those of you that provided feedback. That was a new part of our process this year. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we developed our priorities based on input from staff leadership, commission, as I mentioned. We talked to our lived experience boards, both LEAB and HIFLA. And then we also had listening sessions with broader LAHSA staff and partners at the state and federal and local levels as well. We synthesized input to identify common themes rather than hone in too closely on very specific program needs. And so overall, we're emphasizing system stability, access, and alignment. Go to the next slide. So I want to cover a little bit before we jump into this year's agenda, some of our accomplishments from the past year. We engaged directly with members of Congress, including representatives and senators and other federal partners on homelessness funding, stability, and housing access. We convened regional partners to advocate for increased flexibility in federal housing resources. And we have coordinated system-wide responses to federal policy and funding changes, acting in our role as the COC lead. The next slide. At the state level, we worked with the governor's office and state legislators to protect and advance homelessness funding. And one thing I'll specifically call out the HAP. There was a world at one point where HAP funding was going to be discontinued altogether. And so we really leaned in on that. Jorge was part of those efforts, visiting Sacramento, and felt like even though the HAP ended up being a half measure, that still was a victory over the initial proposal. And so we also participated in statewide coalitions to help advance some of those, working with Community for Supportive Housing, Bring California Home, other coalitions. And now just to want to provide sort of a general overview. So we have organized the agenda around barriers that people experiencing homelessness face in various interconnected areas, and recognizing that progress in different areas is dependent on progress across the board. So this framing helps support coordinated solutions rather than individualized siloed policy responses. So our key focus areas include root causes, prevention, working with law enforcement to implement best practices in engaging unsheltered individuals, And then reducing administrative, financial, and regulatory barriers to housing access. So for example, outreach and housing staff describe spending significant time helping clients obtain IDs, verifications, records, which can delay housing moves. They noted that documentation requirements can disproportionately affect people with cognitive impairments, behavioral health needs, or limited access to those records. And providers reported navigating multiple documentation standards across programs, increasing confusion and workload, right? So one of the things we want to try and do in these efforts is streamline some of these requirements that can maybe finding a different balance between oversight and access. And we also want to safeguard access to public services and public benefits, including things like health care, behavior and mental health care, hygiene, food, wellness services, strengthening the workforce and economic stability. There is strong interest signaled from the federal administration in their new NOFO around work requirements for housing and services. And we also agree that there needs to be more emphasis on workforce development. And so I think part of our efforts would be looking at how do we blend priorities and positions that we've long held with the way that the current administration wants to direct things. And then finally, we in general want to, and as an underlying goal, promote evidence-based, data-driven approaches to our homelessness response. And now I will turn things over to Jorge to start addressing a little more specifically this year's agenda at this federal and state levels.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Jorge Tapia. I'm the Associate Director of Legislative Affairs and Policy. So before jumping into our federal priorities, I wanted to kind of give everyone a little bit of an overview of what the federal landscape looks like. As we all know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in terms of our federal funding, even though that is a big chunk of what LAHSA uses to really support the pathway into permanent housing for people experiencing homelessness. So it is something that we are continuously monitoring, as well as timely disbursement of federal funding is also something that we are very concerned about and are monitoring as well. So that is really shaping how our federal priorities are going to look like in the coming fiscal year or calendar year. Next slide. So segueing into our, with that in mind, our federal priorities really are around considerations on policy changes in terms of how our federal funding can be used to support people experiencing homelessness. So of course, because of all of the uncertainty, our priority is trying to stabilize federal funding that's coming towards our region. Another priority of ours is really to try to preserve and stabilize the COC program, just because of all these conversations that are happening at the federal level. We really want to make sure that those deliberations are being considered in terms of how that would have a local impact. So that would be a priority of ours as well. And as these considerations are happening, we really want to make sure that we're engaging our federal partners on what those policy changes can really have on the local level. So we're really trying to help inform policy changes as they happen. And then, of course, one of the biggest things that we are prioritizing is maintaining the supply of permanent housing, whether it be permanent supportive housing or affordable housing. We really want to make sure that we both sustain and try to expand, even though we are very aware that funding is possibly going to be contracted in the coming years. We still want to make sure that we advocate for still this sustainability and expansion of permanent supportive housing. And lastly, this is something that we continuously hear from our partners and stakeholders, is that there are a lot of regulatory barriers when it comes to accessing permanent housing. And so something that we continuously try to advocate for is reducing those barriers to folks so they have a very streamlined and quick pathway into permanent housing. Okay, segueing into the state landscape and system impacts, we really rely on state funding very much in our local region, specifically through HAP funding. As Paul had mentioned, we did a lot of advocacy in this past calendar year to make sure that there was a renewed HAP funding source to the region, and so that will continue on moving forward. We also know that state investments really help shore up a lot of the gaps that we have in our system, and so we will continue to prioritize that in the coming calendar year. Next slide. So these are priorities moving forward. Of course, another a perennial priority of ours is to sustain the HAP funding that we receive, if not just to expand it as well. It is something that was not reflected in the governor's budget this year, but that has happened in the past. So together with our coalition partners, we will continue to advocate for HAP funding to be renewed, if not at level funding, increased as well. In addition to that, we really want to make sure that HAP is sustained in terms of a program as opposed to kind of a one-off program, which has been historically what has been done with that program. And also in addition to that, this is something that we have explored and had conversations with our coalition partners, is to try to find a permanent funding source for HAP, as opposed to having this be an annual process, just because it makes it difficult for long-term planning. And to ensure and to understand what funding sources are going to be coming from the state. Lastly, as there are considerations happening on the federal level regarding funding, we do want to engage our state partners to see if there's a possibility or an opportunity to find additional funding to help any gaps that we as a region may experience with some federal cuts that are being considered at that level. And then lastly, as the California Department on Housing and Homelessness gets stood up, we really want to make sure that their systems, as they get built up, communicate well with our local system. And so that's something that we are going to be exploring in the coming calendar year as a priority. Next slide. All right, that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
I just, I was looking at your general legislative priorities. Do you include reduce barriers to housing access? Sounds more about like documentation and things. I don't see something here that just says more subsidies. So that would just be my point on 6. On page, for your federal, I think you very specifically cannot just call out COC. You have to say HCV and EHV. We're seeing hope potentially on EHV, but if we don't get increased investments in the HCV, well, first of all, we won't get, whether or not you even change the PBV cap, which isn't happening, still won't get more PBVs because we're in shortfall in our HCV program. So just saying, I think you can't talk feds without saying HCV and definitely EHV. That would just be that. And then the last thing is, you talk a lot about HAP. Thank you. Don't stop, but you have to also talk about HSP. The state is not investing in our family system. That was at one point over $70 million during COVID. We're at $11 million now. So that's going to devastate us. So I just encourage you to include HSP in your advocacy. That's it, but it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 online
Two
speakers.
online speakers. Let's move to those.
Suzette Shaw, you're welcome to speak.
Good afternoon, commissioners and Jorge. My name is Suzette Shaw. I am a Skid Row resident. I write, talk, and I advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. Jorge, I do agree with you. There should be a pathway to permanent supportive housing. However, this should include a pathway that is where people graduate from transitional housing programs where they are succeeding and graduating from before entering them into permanent supportive housing. I myself had to do approximately 3 years in permanent and transitional housing before I was given the opportunity to move into permanent supportive housing. I had to do 3 years in transitional housing, and I myself came from the suburbs where I had my own home. Please, could you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because somehow I ended up muted. So please, you all, you have to be trauma informed. You all are throwing millions of dollars and
Langorica, you're welcome to speak. Langorica, you're welcome to speak.
Okay. Thank you. So, Gita, are you presenting item 7.0? Since Eileen's not here.
I think council's going to present.
Okay.
It's my understanding. The resolution regarding
Teleconferencing.
Sorry, Commissioner. Yes.
We need to approve the agenda.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Paul. We have a motion to approve. the
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Sheik,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Graves,
Aye.
Commissioner Gruhl,
Aye.
Commissioner McMorrin, Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez, Commissioner Stringer,
Aye.
Commissioner Slauson.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 7. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michael Custodio, Deputy City Attorney. Before you is a resolution of the Governing Board of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority authorizing the use of teleconferencing for regular meetings pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by Senate Bill 707. Senate Bill 707 modernized teleconferencing and public access requirements, including provisions applicable to eligible multi-jurisdictional bodies. As a joint powers authority created by a county and city, LAHSA constitutes an eligible multi-jurisdictional body within the meaning of the Brown Act. The amended Brown Act requires that an eligible multi-jurisdictional body to authorize the use of teleconferencing at a regular meeting in open session before utilizing the alternative teleconferencing framework. So that is the purpose of this reso.
Any questions on, so when it says regular meeting, that means we can't do special meetings, but only regular meetings.
It's approved at a regular,
Got it.
but it's for special and regular meetings to utilize the teleconferencing.
Teleconferencing meaning because we asked this the last.
Teleconferencing and remote includes remote
It includes
participation.
remote, that we can do that.
Yes.
What's the rules as to being able to do remote? Not that, I mean, we all have made it here, but there are some instances where an emergency meeting happens and and we won't have quorum. So does
So
that
the
affect that?
reso would only apply at this point to regular and special meetings. It doesn't, the act does not afford the ability for emergency meetings, but I mean, we could always
But
revisit
special,
that.
but I think an emergency meeting is a special meeting.
What's that?
As a commissioner, I know at most of the meetings where I go, if you have to say, I'm sick, I'm in a room alone, all those things, or
Right.
is this just, you can opt in and be like, I don't feel like driving today, I'm not coming in person, I'm going to be
So you were
remote.
asking questions about the meat and potatoes of the actual teleconferencing requirements?
Yes.
Okay, well, the reso is just to afford you the ability to meet teleconferencing. If you have specific questions about the sort of the conditions that you need to meet in order to meet remotely, Odd is here, but we also have a memo forthcoming. If you don't want to wait for that, I mean, Odd is here for any questions.
Yeah, how do you
Okay.
use it or not use it? I mean, just the most basic principle.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Auda Katz, County Council, LAHSA Council. With regard to the new rules, there is a provision now in the new amended Brown Act that pertains particularly specifically to multi-jurisdictional bodies such as LAHSA, and it allows a commissioner to appear remotely up to twice a year. However, in order to do so, there are lots of strings attached. There has to be a quorum in person. If a member receives compensation, they're not eligible. If a member is an elected, they're not eligible. The member who's going to be appearing remotely must appear on the agenda, and they must be at least or more than 20 miles away from the physical location. So we're not, yeah. So if you live more than 20 miles away from, or are staying 20 miles away from the physical location, you're good.
I'm sorry, so any of us who live within 20 miles, it doesn't matter what other qualifications we meet, we can't ever use this.
However, there is another provision that applies not just to JPAs, but to, other Brown Act bodies that still allows you to appear remotely up to 2 times per year for just cause. And the new amended version of the Brown Act does include expanded just causes. It eliminates the emergency circumstances. I know I'm getting really in the weeds now. So just cause is basically includes the former emergency circumstances and adds like two other things, like having an immunocompromised member of your family at home, or being called to military duty within like, more than 50 miles away from the location.
So just if you're sick, you can do this up to 2 times a year as long as they have in-person quorum and all these other things.
Correct. Yeah.
It doesn't count towards our quorum. Not that that's the only thing.
No. Yeah. I mean,
It's
that
a similar
unfortunately.
I think as I mentioned before,
We have that now, don't we?
yeah, that, well, no,
That you can
no,
call
you
in?
could not, no. So that what I think that when my experience had been with the California Film Commission, which was as long as you had a quorum present, but you could participate. So let's just say I really want to be there and I can't, but you still have a quorum. I can still be on and participate and do all that, but it would still have to be a quorum here. Unless, but I guess the
Correct.
question is, if she is sick, still if she's sick, you have to have a quorum, doesn't matter.
Still have to have an in-person quorum for either just cause or under these new provisions that are specific to multi-jurisdictional entities. The Brown Act, as it's amended, adds another provision for someone with a disability that you can provide reasonable accommodations, and they do count towards quorum. And so there's a plus in that ways, and we can address these as they come up, but that's just an overview.
Okay, but
Just one comment I want to make is that we've had issues with our AV setup here multiple times, and we've asked them to be addressed multiple times. And sometimes it's better, but sometimes it's not. And I'm concerned about this because I'm concerned about actually the clarity and the ability for somebody who's remote to participate in a way. I've been disappointed that we haven't been able to fix those issues, especially in a city filled with audio engineers like ours. But I'm hoping that that would be foundational. We should upgrade that ability, I think, if we're going to be able to do this right. So that's just my comment.
anything else? Do we have a motion to adopt this? Okay, and we'll get a memo about
A non-legally communicated memo.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Will you please call the vote?
Commissioner Sheik,
Aye.
Commissioner Graves.
Aye.
Commissioner Gruel,
Aye.
Commissioner McMorrin.
Aye.
Commissioner Perkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Stringer.
Aye.
Commissioner Slausa.
No.
So the motion passes with one abstain,
One no vote.
one no vote, sorry.
That was a no.
No vote.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Paul, item 10, update on the Greater LA homeless count, which just ended last night. Will you keep it brief?
Yes,
It ended
I know
this
that we
morning
are.
for Paul.
What's that?
It ended late this morning.
Exactly. Yeah, so I will keep this brief. I know we talked about it earlier. There are a few things. I want to say that we do deeply appreciate that just about everyone on the commission, as far as I know, turned out in one way or another to support the count, recognizing you are all volunteers here. And so, then also putting your time and effort into this huge project is deeply appreciated. I want to just kind of share the main top lines that we significantly reduced the number of uncounted tracks, what we call makeup tracks this year, right? And that happened for one big reason was the shift that I had described previously in how we assign tracks, making the default to be 2 tracks per team instead of 1, which is very doable and reasonable. I think was borne out this year. But then I also have to recognize what I think when in some cases were the Herculean efforts of LASA staff who had really gotten the memo that we wanted to minimize our makeup tracks this year and really went out late, stayed out late. When the volunteers were all done, if they had 2 or 3 tracks left and it was midnight, they went out and did those tracks. Also really want to recognize, I know he had to leave the room and we recognize him already, but really the goats of homeless count are Derek Blackshear and Brian Brown. Derek, I think, single-handedly counted a couple of deployment sites in the end. And Brian, we would wrap up Central Command here after 1 a.m., but Brian would go home and keep his computer on and continue to monitor those last couple deployment sites that maybe had some lingering issues or volunteers. So they really, really did it. And then we had 131 staff overall sign up to help, and they filled 217 dashboard coordinator slots. So that means most people were coming out more than one night. And again, those dashboard coordinators are there. They're in it to win it. They're for the duration. So just to give a little context for that drop in uncounted tracks, the numbers I got were preliminary when I was preparing these, but it was between 40 and 50% fewer over all 3 nights of the count. So last year, I think we were maybe around 450, and this year we're probably close to half that. So it's a much more manageable for the teams that we're asking to go out and do those makeup tracks that we have to have everything done by the end of the HUD's time period. And then the other thing I really want to recognize is the technology piece, right? I had said that we were really looking forward to this being a smooth year because we weren't doing anything brand new. We weren't implementing any new platforms. And that was absolutely borne out. For the first time, I think, since we've gone digital, there were no systemic issues. There was individual, right? Absolutely. It's a credit to the team that worked on it here. Stephanie Wolahan, I'll call her out. She always call out as well. A testament to the work of Esri, our technology partner. There were individual issues, as there will be with any like app technology-based thing, but we had teams that could work through those on Teams chats. We had a hotline available. So it really all came together this year, and I think was really a smooth year. So thank you for your support. We'll obviously want to continue to improve, and I know there are things that we are going to keep working on, but what we were hoping about, the foundation we had that we were working on, by and large, was borne out. So I'm sure there are no questions, but thank you.
Thank you for your leadership, and this is great. You all can go get some sleep. Okay. Item 11. Lakeisha, we're going to do an update on loss opera. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public. My name is Lakeisha Williams, the Deputy Chief Senior Advisor. Today, I will be giving you an overview of some of the areas LAHSA has been analyzing to reduce cost savings within the organization. Some of the focus areas we're going to be spotlighting today is IT operations, specifically our fleets and facilities working in tandem with our finance department, IT, and our operations associate director. In slide 2, in the IT department, we started with looking at our reoccurring monthly expenses and found several areas of improvement. First, cutting our cable and moving our MDM server over to Microsoft Intune. MAS is an IBM SaaS software as service platform for unified endpoint management that helps organizations manage and secure all their web-based, all their endpoints, including laptops, desktops, smartphones, and tablets. It provides a web-based portal for administrators to control and secure devices, enforce company policies, manage applications, and ensure secure access to corporate resources. Then we began to renegotiate our security contract with Level Blue and found over $100,000 in savings there for fiscal year 26-27. We also renegotiated with KnowBe4, our security awareness training vendor, and managed to find about $9,000 in savings. As LAHSA continues to strengthen its operation and safeguard sensitive information, moving forward with Level Blue as a managed security service provider, we will take our cybersecurity posture to the next level. Level Blue, the largest pure play MSSP global, combines 24/7 monitoring, AI-driven and compliance-ready solutions to protect against evolving risks. Their unified platform and proven expertise will streamline our security operations, ensure alignment, and provide the scalability LAHSA needs to maintain public trust while focusing on its core mission. Finally, we looked at employee device and phone usage and noticed a number of employees hardly use their LAHSA provided cell phones. Our bill per month is about $37 a month, but over an agency of 700, that adds up very quickly. We implemented a system of account suspicion that activates after a defined period of inactivity. Then those suspended accounts are reviewed and then terminated. In addition, we are working with each department to pare down the amount of employees with cell phones to only those whose job requires it. Eventually, all other employees will be migrated to Microsoft Teams phones, which is a free alternative. This slide breaks down the facility size of LAHSA operations. Our co-locations, we are contracting outreach teams and therefore co-locations. Negotiations have completed to vacate various locations, resulting in savings on rent and reclaiming of equipment, furniture that can be used elsewhere and prevent need for repurchasing. Several council districts have volunteered space to use as co-locations should the need arise, and we're continuing looking at those logistics areas where relocation would make sense. One location vacated on November 12th of 2025 with the early terminated negotiated. Landlord retained security deposit of $2,647 and wrote off 1.5 months of rent, which cost us, put us at a savings of $2,647 a month. 3 locations we're looking at to determine to downsize those co-locations as well. In our warehouse, in the past, LAHSA used storage units as space for items and outreach and interim housing supplies. And initially, we looked at returning to that model. However, we are unable to negotiate an early termination with the management company. And looking at where we could reduce costs, we decided to return our rental forklift and instead repair the one LAHSA owns that has been broken. The initial cost of repair will offset after 2 months of rent. The warehouse lease currently is $31K a month. Total with taxes and fees for common space is $36K a month. Our forklift repair cost for LAHSA owned was $3,000, $3,642. A rental lease monthly payment of $1,000. Our rental lease month payment for the forklift was $1,142.42. The savings total, we will, for a 24-25 budget, we save $6,854.52. Moving on to our 707 head corporate office. Our space at 707 and 637 is one of our largest fixed costs at both $100,000, $100,000, $185,000, and $553 a month. We are in talks with real estate brokers to see about renting the 8th floor. And just recently we found out this week there's an interest in the 9th floor. The 707 Wilshire headquarters, we have on the 10th floor, 24 office spaces, 95 workstations at 190 FTE capacity. The monthly operating expense for that is $33,430. The 9th floor, we have 27 offices, 110 workstations at 220 FTE capacity. The monthly cost for that is $4,020. The 8th floor is 16 offices, 56 workstations, house about 112 FTEs. And our monthly expense for that floor is $16,503. At our 637 office, we have 5 offices, 14 workstations, and that's an operating expense monthly at $11,596.
Lease ending on 707?
We have another 5 years.
It was a 10-year lease total that was signed.
The other side of our operations endeavors is our fleet of vehicles. Considering the contraction of outreach teams, we were able to return a number of rental vehicles and parking passes, resulting in significant savings. There was an overpayment that was made due to issues on the end of our Verizon Connect fleet vendor. This was going to be used as credit initially, but due to the current situation, we will be collecting that back from them in full. Our Verizon Connect fleet vendor for LAHSA for the tracking services, a refund of $43,000, $345.08 of overpayment of monthly expenses. Right now, we were able to reduce 18 parking passes, which was $201.30 monthly. And the result was a savings of $3,623.40 monthly savings. So far, we returned back some of our enterprise rented vehicles. As of now, there's been 25 vehicles returned, and this has resulted in a $34,815.78 per month of reduced savings. So we're in slide 5. We go over our current improvement areas. We will focus on our next, including fixed costs with finance, the implementation of our plans, and in progress initiatives that are counting to the coming month. And I just want to highlight that this is going to be an ongoing process as we continue to ramp down the agency with a hyper focus on where we can cut and reduce savings.
Can I just ask one question going back to the rent? What is the policy for remote work right now for LAHSA?
Employees have to attend 2 days in person a week. I'm sorry, but outreach is every day in person.
Yes, our direct services is 5 days a week.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Really appreciate you combing through this to find savings. It's great. Question on the fleet that we have. I was looking at the other document that was prepared and submitted, the schedule of insurance that we have. And I noticed that in the automobile insurance category, if you add all those up, we have approximately annual payments of $2.2 million for insurance related to our automobiles, which works out to like $6,200 a day. Just wondering, like, that seems to me that there's opportunity to save around that insurance, those insurance costs. So beyond the cost of the vehicles, but that insurance cost seems to be really high to me, and the place there might be opportunities for savings. Is it something that you've taken a look at? And also, could you talked about rental vehicles? Do we own? What's our total fleet size? And because some are probably rentals, and maybe there are some vehicles we own.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't have those numbers for you, but I do agree absolutely, and that's a reason why we want to reduce our fleet inventory to only having it where direct services like outreach have vehicles, because we do understand having even admin vehicles for a regular employee that's not necessarily providing outreach services is costing the agency a lot.
We get charged more for insurance because the insurance company assumes we're transporting homeless folks in all of the vehicles. So we've given up, like my car, for example, all of those cars. So we will limit it to only the necessary vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, it just on the schedule of insurance, it just jumped out at me that there's we've got $2.2 million a year of insurance related just to automobiles.
Yes,
So-
and we have Chris Williams also will be helping us, our new risk manager, in helping to reduce that as well. So we just want to point out, Lakeisha, thank you. She's been doing double duty on this. This is one of the first things when I started at LAHSA we wanted to do was to cut our fixed costs. And Lakeisha has done an excellent job, and we'll continue to do that so we can cut our fixed costs and hopefully retain more employees.
And will there be possible, I know with county taking, potentially employees are doing different things. I don't know, but it might be there's some partnership there that would be, I don't know if they can do that or not, but.
Well, we have offered the lease of our warehouse to the city and the county and our offices as well to sublease that to take off our expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lakeisha. Keisha, do we have? Oh,
Mine's verbal and very quick. So I got you. Just want to let you know, we are still rocking and rolling in HR, motivating our staff. We are down to 662 employees from last month. Several resignations just during the month of December. We have 28 staff out on some type of a leave with 12 new requests in December alone. And I think Cherie reported on the county's concierge program, but we have had 95 staff sign on to get that assistance. So that's up. Last it was 50. So looks like we are doubling that. So we're really encouraging staff to utilize it. We sent another email out to all of our staff with the instructions on how to do it. And so folks are really taking advantage of that. What I have asked them moving forward is if they could let me know monthly what that number is of folks that have actually entered, but also how many folks have actually transitioned into employment. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you back some positive news there. We continue to share our open vacancies that the county sends us, as well as the commission. Thank you very much to the commissioners that have shared jobs. We have had lots of employees go into some of those jobs that have been shared, and so we will continue to do that. And we will continue to collaborate with the county's HR department on just ensuring that information is going out to all staff. We're continuing to collaborate with SEIU. And all recruitment right now is on hold except for essential service positions. And those roles are all only through June 30th, 2026. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to skip item 13, so we'll go right into the committee reports right now. So first one is report on Finance Committee. Commissioner McMorrin.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. We had a
mic on?
Test. Is it on?
Oh, it is. You just got it.
I gotta, well, I don't want to. Is this a little better? I'll project more. Is that better? Okay. And I'm going to have to leave right after this. So, but we were reviewing a audit and there was no findings. And so that's always good news. We looked at some of our budget versus actuals, and that's also looking good. There's also going to be some report backs on some additional information that we like to see as a committee. What else is happening? We looked at our financial position and reviewed some of our reporting on our LAHSA service providers, and we are doing better on closing some of those gaps than the previous year. So really want to applaud staff for working hard on that. But all in all, we are chugging forward and continuing to meet regularly, and I have deep appreciation for my colleagues and the robust conversation that we have at that committee. And thanks so much, y'all. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Commissioner. For item 15, the Management Committee met last Friday, and per your consent calendar, we approved a policy on claims lawsuit settlements as well as policy on government tort claims. We also began the conversation for a CEO search, since obviously we have an interim CEO for now. That is what I have for now. Commissioner Graves has stepped out of the meeting. We still maintain quorum at this point. Does anyone else want to give a report on programs and contracts?
It's me. I was there.
So?
So we adopted the items that are before you today that we approved in the consent calendar. So we went through a number of the items that you have on the agenda. So I think that was it.
Well, no, you also approved a very big item, which was the TLS RFP, which no longer has to come to consent.
That was, yes, sorry. We did do it. Thank you for reminding me, because those RFPs don't come necessarily to the full commission, which I've always thinking maybe they should, but I know it takes it longer. I know they look at me like, don't do that. But it comes to the programs committee. So we released it, and the issue that was brought up, which asking the questions earlier relative to, it was, I think originally CAO came in, as they indicated, at a lower amount than what we had anticipated to have all of the services attached to it. And that was related to the meeting that happened. And I'm not sure if we know what happened this morning in council. Do we know, did it pass with any changes?
Let me check.
Okay. Anyways, thank you for reminding me that it was the TLS. I just forgot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Slaza, do you have a report for us on the audit committee?
Yeah, on Wednesday, January 21st, we had our audit committee meeting. It was a taut 26 minutes meeting. We covered the risk assessment, which included an assessment of 21 departments plus our legal function, which highlighted self-reported areas of risk. We also, that document was used to inform the internal audit plan that was derived from that risk assessment, and it's going to prioritize the audits that we will conduct in this this year. I do want to note that I do question whether the commission actually needed to vote to approve that internal audit plan, which we did on the consent calendar. So I just want to make mention of that. I've asked the attorneys to expound on that because I believe in my reading of the internal audit charter suggests that it does not have to come to full commission approval. But hopefully we can get some clarity on that. Other items, Janine Lim presented the internal audit budget. It's notable there's no allocation in that budget for leadership, but we're going to supplement that with external advisors. That's our plan. And then the last item that we discussed that I'd like to mention is the COC audit, which is underway, which has been underway for 20 months. Just want to mention that. We're trying to close that out with Aram, who is leading our internal audit process. And we're hoping to get the cooperation of the process owners so we can close out that audit that's been started, was started in 2024. And generally these audits ought to take a few weeks, and we're well past 20 months. So thanks.
Thank you for those updates. Do we have any other updates or agenda requests for future meetings?
I'd like to get an update on time limited subsidies. They're trying to unbraid them. It's very timely because this is all coming to a head before July 1st when all kinds of funding will be.
Okay. Seeing none, one more item before do we have any public comments?
No, Commissioner.
No, okay. I want to acknowledge that it is Rachel Johnson's last meeting, our beloved Chief of Staff.
Lock the door.
Yeah.
Lock the door.
She's fleeing the country. Yeah, no fleeing, please.
Anything you want
Yeah.
to say on your?
Do you have any advice for us?
Rachel, you always loved speaking publicly.
And I have to.
What part?
I know, but we will say Rachel has done an outstanding job. Tremendous amount of turbulation and pressure. She did not sign up for that part of the job. She has done an excellent job. We will deeply miss her both as a leader, a thought partner, an amazing asset to the homeless system. We will be sad. And then also as a friend. She's a lovely person. We'll be sad.
Well, thank you. I was not expecting this. And that's why I don't tell anyone anything because I don't like any recognition. But yes, it has been a exciting 3 years. I think it's almost 3 years that I've been with LAHSA. And I do, even though it has been difficult, I don't regret it at all. And I think that this work is extremely important and we are at a very difficult time. And so thank you for all of you to, stay on the commission and help lead LAHSA forward because it's going to be a difficult period of transition. And I think everyone at LAHSA, I love my colleagues and I have really appreciated working here and I am ready for a break. So that's what I'm going to do. But thank you.
We deeply appreciate you. And I forgot to say that, Rachel also served as our acting CEO. It was a month though, Rachel. It was a month. Okay. It was a very,
was it really a whole month?
It was a very robust period.
Well, I also want to say thank you, Rachel, because you always had that calm demeanor and you really 24/7 and just you will be missed. Geeta might not have taken the job if she'd known you were leaving. But we are going to come. We're all going to come visit you. So, but thank you for your dedication. As we say all this when you leave. We want to appreciate all of you that are here. Okay, so thank you for everything.
I want to thank you too, Rachel, because not only were you incredibly skilled at this job, you stayed very communicative with me specifically through very difficult times. And I always appreciated that open communication, no matter how tense or conflict ridden some of it got. So I really thank you for that. That was like an inspiration for me to just be better. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We now have an online speaker. Please go ahead.
Suzette Shaw, you're welcome to speak.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Suzette Shaw from Skid Row. I just want to acknowledge someone mentioned earlier about, creating workforce development for people living in housing, permanent supportive housing and so forth. As someone who is a full-time student living in permanent supportive housing, I want you to understand how difficult it is when people are smoking crack, PCP, marijuana, SHRM, 24/7, living around you, how physically ill it makes you when they're up all night, going from room to room, floor to floor, yelling, screaming, fighting, having parties with loud music, drug dealers outside your building also playing music. You talk about people going back into the workforce? Do you understand as a trauma survivor what this does to me mentally day in and day out? Please create buildings that are specifically for people with the challenges of drug addiction, drug behavior, mental illness. Please allow us to move on and be empowered and our
Any additional online speakers?
No, Commissioner.
Okay, we have two speakers in person, Lisa Cooper and Thorne, and I will start with Lisa. Okay, I will start with Thorne. Please come to the podium. Feel free to adjust the microphone. You kind of have to speak right into it.
Thank you. All right, you guys. So I was a part of the homeless count over the past 3 days. I registered for all 3 nights. 4 of us were turned away that first night in Hollywood and mocked for actually living on the street. They didn't expect us to show up, I suppose. And a participation award was given. I'm not sure what this is. This was mostly for social media, is what I think it was. I sleep in front of 2 council members' offices. I know that there's funding for every individual out there struggling, but we're caught in these offices looking for who's to blame for bad data or late reports and what happened to the money that was promised. Let's speak plainly. The Olympics are on the horizon. The homeless represent an ugly truth for this city. Shipping the unhoused out of city limits or into new age projects cannot be the solution. I ask for clarity, for equity here. Thank you.
Thank you, Thorne. Lisa Cooper.
All right, hello, Happy New Year. Okay, I'd like to speak on mostly item 12. Okay, you were talking about vacancies that are available in the department. So I myself am also unhoused. I also participated in the count all 3 nights, and I was one of the parties turned away. Also, what I have done over my course of dealing with LAHSA is offer my services even in a volunteer, or if you, I guess you could say, internship capacity. We have lived experience skills that would be very, very valuable to LAHSA in whatever iteration it ends up being after July 1st. I think that you should also consider employing some of us, even if it's directly from the shelter. I myself have been in tiny home facilities as well as Inside Safe for 3 years. Many case managers were my neighbors and they couldn't afford to live in this city, so they were managing clients even as they were being managed. So if you did sponsor a program of the type that I'm trying to outline in my mind, it would facilitate future employment for those of us that do plan to try and work in the social services space. For clients that are interested in pursuing the field, up to and including myself, who do have capacity, have real lived experience, also have worked for several nonprofits, it would help us get back into the employment
Thank you, Lisa.
field. We would also be able to support ourselves. And also, lastly, during the count, we saw many people that we know personally. So they are our actual neighbors. They trust us. This is a human element that I think that LAHSA sometimes misses. And if you employed us in this capacity, I think that you would get a lot further in bringing people in
Thank you,
and
Lisa.
making the best of their lives.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. Okay. With that, I adjourn us at 12:37.